Good morning everyone, it's As here, and today we'll talk about familiars in Ni no Kuni crossworlds. I'll explain basics, how to get them, their uses, how upgrading works, and their different uses in PvE and PvP. Before we start, I'll be releasing a 7 videos prepare for launch YouTube series explaining what to do day 1, best familiars to roll for, and tips and mistakes you should know, etc. So subscribe to stay tuned for that. Now let's start. Familiars are one of the core mechanics of Crossworlds, as they will be your active battle pets in combat at all times. You can have 3 familiars equipped at a time, and each of them will contribute to your gameplay with an active and passive ability each, so choosing them and building your loadout will be crucial. They are one of the greatest contributors when it comes to your character power as well, and also one of the 3 things you will gacha for. Fortunately, there are other ways to acquire familiars, so let's go through them first before examining summoning. The most basic way of acquiring familiar is through the main story or fix events from the game. They do give out useful familiars through the story, such as our first very familiar, Might. He is actually one of the top fire familiars, so it's very generous of them to get one for free. You will also be able to breed familiars through an in-game mechanic. Through playing several daily activities, you will be rewarded with familiar incubation materials such as eggs and incubation power. For each egg, you can try hatching your own familiar, and by spending increased amounts of incubation power, you can increase your chance to potentially get better final results. Note that these tickets you choose from do not guarantee a better outcome. They just slightly increase your chance for a more expensive incubation. There is also an open world method to acquiring our little pets. There will be magical butterflies appearing throughout the world, and by examining these bugs you will bump into random familiars in the world. Through feeding our little friends we find, we can attempt to tame them and acquire them. And the final and main method of acquiring rare familiars is the gacha. So let's examine this feature in a bit more detail. Summoning familiars is one of the 3 gachas of the game, equipment and costumes being the other 2. There is a general familiar banner, and they will usually have special increased raid banners for specific familiars from time to time that will be really useful. To summon, you can either spend diamonds, which is the premium currency of the game, but the main resources you'll spend will be tickets. The game will give out very steady flow of tickets you can spend on a specific gacha banner, while diamonds will be more precious to spend in the in-game store. Now let's take a look at the rates on Taiwan server. Each summon you'll have a 4% chance to get a 4-star familiar, 36% chance to get a 3-star, and 60% chance to get a 2-star familiar. We'll obviously want to get a 4-star, and even within them there is a subcategory we like to call shiny 4-stars. They are your super rare ones you really want to get, and the chance for them individually within that 4% is pretty low, as you can see. But worry not, as Crossworlds has a pity system. Every 100 summons on the same banner will guarantee a 4-star, and every 200 summons will guarantee a shiny 4-star. And as far as I know on the Taiwan server, getting lucky and getting a rare one earlier does not reset your pity, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Hope it was easy to understand. If you have any questions, just ask. Let's keep going. Familiars, just like characters, have proper stats they function with a passive ability, an active ability, and a dual or expedition ability for minigames. For simplicity, I will use Might as our tutorial familiar. He is a base 4-star familiar, and his stats are from top to bottom: familiar power, attack type, attack, defense, health, evasion, accuracy, critical strike chance, and critical strike resistance. His passive skill is boosting all fire damage done by you and your familiars by a percentage that you can upgrade. His active skill is a flurry of fire attacks that deal good damage and 100% inflict burn status effect on enemies. This will be very important. And his minigame ability is a similar flurry of attacks that inflict trip on other familiars. As you level up Might, these abilities and stats will also get stronger. So how do we improve our familiars? There are several systems we have to look at. The first and most basic one is simply leveling them up. To level up a familiar, you'll have to feed them with P-pods that you get from several activities in the game and give experience to our pets. Using the right elemental pod gives you a bonus experience, so make sure you don't waste them. You can also feed your other familiars for leveling, but I recommend against doing that. Once your familiar reaches level 30, it is eligible for boosting. Boosting is the process of increasing the star ranking of your familiar to the next level through materials and gold. So leveling Might up would make him a 5-star and resets his level back to 1, while keeping his stats as they were, allowing you to further improve him until he becomes a fully upgraded level 30 6-star familiar. Keep in mind, while you can upgrade all familiars to 6-star, the higher the base rating of a familiar, the better their stats are, so a natural 4-star will always have better stats than a 3-star when fully upgraded. But there are still a few 3 and 4-star familiars that have unique abilities, making them stronger than some of their fairer brethren. Next way of improving your familiars is strengthening. Strengthening is feeding your familiars with jellies or gummy bears as you like it. These are very rare resource and will be part of your daily grind acquiring them from quests, rewards, or dismissing your rare familiars. The 3 types are attack, defense, and health. Each gummy type gives stats to a familiar up to plus 100, and if you feed all the types, then the familiar will become a fully strengthened plus 300 familiar. Now the cool thing about strengthening is that you can transfer your strengthened points from one familiar to another. Keep in mind, transferring your strengthening to another familiar will destroy the path-in process. And finally, probably the grindiest of them all is Awakening. Awakening is your dupe mechanic, increasing their base stats and skills values. Each familiar can be awakened 10 times, meaning if you find familiar duplicates, you can awaken them with a decreasing chance of success each time. At the start, it will be 100% chance to awaken with a duplicate, but the number will massively decrease. And to improve your chance, you will want to use multiple duplicates to increase the awakening chance. This is one of the whaling parts of the game, as getting a super rare 4-star familiar awakened 10 times is a massive gacha grind. Now I mentioned that you can use familiars to level up your main ones, or that you can dismiss them to gain more jellies for strengthening. And you will get lots of low rank familiars in the game. So it would make sense to dismiss them, right? Well, no. Or at least not for a long time. Ni no Kuni Crossworlds is a massive collectathon, meaning everything you find and do in the game will somehow contribute to your account's Codex, and each entry in the Codex will give you minor stat rewards to your account. While plus 30 or plus 100 power might not seem that much on the long run, maximizing your Codex is the long game and one of the activities you should focus on throughout the course of the game. With that said, in the case of familiars, you'll want to awaken all your familiars to 10, starting with 2 and 3 stars, which you will find a lot anyway to unlock their Codex entries at Awaken 3, 7, and 10. After you're done with that, you are free to do whatever you please, if you want to dismiss them or use them as leveling fodder. Now we talked through all aspects you should know about familiars, but how are you going to use them in the game or choose which one is better? Since Crossworlds has a standard elemental wheel, eventually you want to have full elemental sets with both your weapons and familiars, having full fire team or a full water team. There's also different classes of familiars from DPS, defense, and supporting ones, and depending on what role you'd like to fill in a party, you can choose pets to increase your damage, increase your healing or buff your party, or, for example, have a pet that gives you invulnerability and increased defense on low health to tank better. There's also special familiars such as dark ones designed specifically for PvP to deal damage based on maximum player health, simply increase your PvP damage, or cause several valuable status effects against your opponents. The variety is awesome and there is a familiar for any situation in the game, but it will also mean you'll have to choose the ones you'd like to focus on pretty early, since it will be very resource heavy to upgrade them. But for that I mentioned, I will make a video before launch suggesting loadouts and best familiars to start out with depending on your class or your goal in Ni no Kuni. But that is it for our introduction guide to familiars in Crossworlds, everyone. I really appreciate the insane support on my Ni no Kuni content, and I will keep it coming, so stay tuned. I also stream mostly daily on Twitch, so please support me there if you'd like. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all soon.